We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you love everything in college football, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support this college football's rebel outpost, the home for the college football sickos, with a donation, help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that $sign where you make your comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Welcome on in. Thursday, October 30th. We are headed into week 10. We've already did our picks against the spread for week 10. That was yesterday. And I do believe that Greg the Cooler is going to be Greg the Gold finally once again. After the results come in, I'm feeling confident. I am feeling confident. Today is going to be a very simple show. Very simple, but very important. Bimba 75-79. Go Blue. Michigan as a university is far wealthier than the Nuts. The Buck Nuts, the Ohio State Buckeye. It's a big Blues world. All right. Okay. John Famlor, I think that's exactly the Big Ten's problem. Ohio State is just too dominant in football at the moment. It's too imbalanced. Okay. Here's the thing. I was on a three-person call, a Zoom call. And it is quite apparent for those who follow Big Ten Conference, for those in the money perch, and now even those among the chatter behind the curtain, that there has been a great change within the Big Ten Conference over the last couple of weeks, and maybe even a little bit before that. And we're going to talk about it. Because how I was told on this call, it's probably most likely going to simplify things going forward when it comes to the Big Ten's decision on when, if, and with whom they expand the conference. The Ohio State Buckeyes, yes, they are the most dominant college football program in the Big Ten and in the country. So I think the imbalance is that the Buckeyes are so great right now. Fantastic football program. But that's not what this is even about. The football prowess is only a small slice of the reasons why Ohio State is calling the Big Ten shots going forward, at least here in the near future. There are multiple reasons why the Buckeyes are calling the Big Ten shots. One of the reasons, and we've talked about this ever since the Big Ten added on Washington and Oregon, is the Ohio State Buckeyes, as we first reported, acquiesced to the additions of Oregon and Washington. The Buckeyes were totally on board with the additions of USC and UCLA, as I reported in the spring and summer of 2022, even before it became official on June 30th of 2022. But the Buckeyes were not totally on board with the additions of Washington and Oregon. Neither was Penn State. Neither was Rutgers. Neither was Iowa. But at some point, Ohio State said, well, for the good of the conference, Fox has decided to put in some more money. Our Buckeye slice ain't going to get any smaller. Washington is a huge research university, very good value, very good brand, in Oregon as a brand multiplier. Ohio State acquiesced to that deal, to the additions. But in return, the Ohio State Buckeyes and Penn State, well, they were going to have more of a voice going forward when it comes to whatever happens with the Big Ten in terms of a structural change and expansion of the conference. In the Big Ten, there has always been factions, just like in any conference. But when you're talking about the Big Ten, and the Big Ten has been a conference since 1896, when it was called the Western Conference, when the original 6 members created the conference, and then started adding teams. The Buckeyes were added in 1919. Factions do occur. They get created. Back in the 1930s, the 1940s, the 1950s, there were 2 factions in the Big Ten. One was the Michigan faction. The other was the Minnesota faction. And I've often talked about how one battle ensued in the Big Ten in the early 50s. The Big Ten expansion, whether it was going to be Michigan State or Pittsburgh. Michigan supported Pittsburgh. Minnesota supported Michigan State. And Michigan State got enough votes. It was close. And Michigan State was added. And they were not an AAU school when they were added. But over the last 30, 40, 50 years, there has been the faction. The last 40 years, there has been the Michigan-Wisconsin faction. They have been tied to the hip. They have called a lot of shots when it comes to the structure, when it comes to expansion, when it comes to what media rights, what media partner, supporting the commissioner, who's going to be the commissioner when they announce Jim Delaney. And a lot of schools folded into this faction. One of them being Minnesota, the other being Northwestern. So that's how it's been. Ohio State, for all of the incredible value that the Buckeyes bring to the conference, the incredible football program, the incredible football fan base, the branding power, the international branding power, and now the academics and research that rivals basically just about anybody. The Buckeyes have never really taken the helm of the Big Ten. They have really hardly ever been the loudest voice. There are a couple exceptions, one being COVID, when they stepped in. But that is no longer the case. That is no longer the case. Again, I was in a 3-person Zoom call. And I was told that there is only one faction right now in the Big Ten. One faction. And that is the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's it. And we're going to tell you why that it is. And what is the impact of that going forward. Now, this ain't going to last forever. Right? This ain't going to let things change in a large conference. But right now, the Buckeyes' voice is the only voice that has the room in the Big Ten. All right? So let me do a quick roll call. And then we're going to talk about the impact of this. And it's going to actually simplify what is going on, what the Big Ten is going to target next. What are they going to do next? We're going to go through all of that and more here at Peek Around the Corner. The Walking Geek is in the house. Kay Struthers, Mr. Buckeye, Gerald Jones, James C., Bob Swanger, Mr. Monkey Says, Casey Malari, Laura Weiss, the Red Raiders. The Texas Tech Red Raiders. What are they going to do this week? Kansas State. The Red Raiders favored by 7.5 points. I took Texas Tech. The PATC Einsteins took Texas Tech. Very important game for the Red Raiders. Heelan, Florida is in the house. 46-37 Warrior is here. Todd is here. Gregory Allen, Eugene Flugar. I have one middle name, and it's not Allen, and it's not Eugene. So I don't know where Allen Eugene, I don't know. Is that a character name? I don't know what that is. My middle name is not Allen, nor is it Eugene. Dave B's in the house. Greg the Gold, and go Superman. Superman who wears number 47. Jonathan Price is in the house. Rutgers becoming LSU North. Caleb Ramirez, Mr. Buckeyes in the house. Daniel Gorby, the Seminole Wind is here. Ryan Willie on Wisconsin. Nathan Jones is rooting for the Bearcats over the Utah Utes. Shocker. Tony Mazzio is in the house. Daniel Gygax is here. Rodney Richborg, go Tigers. Sean is here. John Hatfield, the Florida Man, Stormy Cyclone. Rhule gets the bag with 2-year extension through 2032. He's off the board at Penn State. You are correct. So we're going to have to come up with a different number one on our Penn State Hot Board 2.00, and we're not ready to do that yet here at Peek Around the Corner. We're not ready to do that yet. I got a couple of things in the oven, but I have not heard back. Matt Rhule is not going to be the next Penn State head coach, and I said on X, and I'm going to get to my X account in a little bit. I'm having trouble with my X account. But anyways, I don't have, this is me talking about it earlier today. I don't have a strong opinion on Rhule's extension with Nebraska. I see the Cornhusker beat writers are finally bringing up the Big Red's terrible football record since 2018 as an argument for the extension. In other words, they're bringing up the terrible record of Nebraska football as a defense of the extension. Truth be told, I'm not sold on this version of the Big Red either. Game versus USC will be telling. I can understand extending Matt Rhule for another year. I get that. Extending him for 2 years, but Nebraska's not paying them any more money. So I don't really have a strong opinion on that. I do kind of, in a weird way. Now, I'm probably going to be wrong. I don't think I am, but I was not impressed with Nebraska last week against Northwestern. I'm sorry, Cornhusker fans. We did a watch party. That was our secondary game. It became my primary game that we did. If Northwestern had a capable quarterback, I think Nebraska would have lost. I was not impressed at all. And again, the week before that, Nebraska played Minnesota, who is struggling mightily against anybody who's got a pulse. And Nebraska looked horrible in that game. I think Nebraska is going to get their doors blown off against USC. I still think there is something wrong in the Nebraska Cornhusker football program. Something systemic. Something is wrong in how they evaluate, especially their offensive linemen. Now, do I think Nebraska? I'm not saying they did something wrong today by extending him. I would not have done a 2-year thing. But I'm not completely sold on what's going on at Lincoln yet. I'm not sold on it. And I think, well, we'll go back to that conversation after the USC-Nebraska game. I happen to think the Trojans are going to blow the doors off of Nebraska, and then we'll have a discussion about it. Nick Kelso is in the house. MGC Sooner is here. John Hatfield. Steele Austin, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. The Architect, Bob Husley. Charles Davis. The Wrong Premise. Conferences in Rosemont, Illinois, not Ohio. Yep, I know where the conference is. I know exactly where it is. My wife visited corporate office a couple of years ago, took a picture of herself under the Big Ten, up on the above the the front doors. We were trying to get Maria to go in there and say, hey, I'm the wife of the guy who broke the story that you guys didn't want to get broken, but she was too afraid to do it. I wasn't with her. She was with her family. Yeah, but I don't. It doesn't change the fact that the Ohio State Buckeyes are calling the shots in the Big Ten. And we're going to go through that real quick here. Jose is in the house. MBM is here. Not quite. In fact, not even close. MBM, the Oklahoma State Cowboy. Ohio State equals Texas. Maybe in some ways. Not in all. RT's in the house. Nick Kelso, Kenneth Stromness, Old Army, Gig'em. Gig'em is here. Texas A&M, Stephen Vitt, the Ohio State Bobcats. Still got a shot to repeat as the MAC champions. Friends, call me Sean. Air Woody is here. Expedition Greg is in the house. Jansen Roberts is in the house. Rock and Rant. Good catch the other day, Greg, on the University of Miami Eye Institute and the Saudi Arabia expansion, Abu Dhabi. There are multiple big announcements coming. And we are going to talk about Miami here in a little bit in connection, which we're all going to talk. Just give me a moment. Let me go through the roll call. Adam Vulture is in the house. Rod Nix is here. Finally, Toon is here. Numbskull News, Buckeyes have a big stick. Big stick. Jimmy Austin. Greg 6'7", Flugar. 6'7". I don't know what any of this stuff means. I don't know what 6'7" Flugar means. I'm definitely not 6'7". I should be for the weight that I am. I actually should be 7'8" for the weight that I am. But the fat guy from Minnesota is not 7'8". The fat guy from Minnesota is not 6'7". The fat guy from Minnesota never got to 6 feet tall. Never. I came this close, literally. 5'11" and 3/4 inches, which is just another indication that I am the re-elected mayor of Loserville City. I never got to 6 feet tall. Now, that's not a shot against the people in the chat room who never made it to 6 feet. That is a joke. Relax. Just everybody relax. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Don Scruggs is in the house. Phenomenal. But I used to be a basketball player, so it used to be a big deal. Whatever. Phenomenal Brews in the house. Christopher Mercado is here. Bill G is here. I don't know what this 6'7" means. I'm out of it. The Trench Grinch is here. What is this 6'7"? Well, I have no idea what this is. Don Scruggs at 5'9". I'm triggered. I apologize, Don. Don, I apologize to you, although I tower over you. Now, I used to be 5'11" and 3/4. There's no way I'm at 3/4 anymore, so we're probably the same height. Another thing here, before we go on to the story we're talking about, is my X account. I have been told by a handful of people yesterday and a few people today that I am not receiving comments that they have made to me. They have shown me pics of the comments. I see the pics. It's at Flug Empire. They've got it correctly spelled. I do not have people on block. I got like 4 people on block. One of them being the Communist Party of China, their X account. I got a couple of people on mute. Those who have said some really bad things about people's religion, or not being, or being, or attacks against people's religions, or not being religious, attacks against people not being religious, attacks against people who have a certain ethnic group, people who are racist, people like that. I go ahead and mute real quick. Bam, done. I do not mute people who I disagree with. I do not mute people who we go back and forth, so I'm not muting people. I'm not blocking people, essentially. But yet I'm not getting some comments on X. So I haven't done anything with X. I haven't said look into it. I haven't had a chance. So if you are somebody who has sent me something and I haven't responded. Well, a lot of times I don't respond anyways, but I do read everybody's comments. I try to. I apologize. I may not know that whatever. I apologize. I apologize. So, okay. Expedition, I can't DM you. Okay, I did. I don't think you were one of the people who told me that yesterday. But you are added onto the list. So, 6'7" literally has no meaning. Perfect for the new generation. Okay. Wendy has muted PAT several times. I have as well. No. Okay. The dark forest hypothesis. If a well, maybe we'll hit upon that later today. Okay, so everybody, thank you for joining us. I very much appreciate it. Very much appreciate you all joining us. Ryan Willie starts this off. Very generous super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate it. Ryan Willie. I guess McIntosh, the athletic director of Wisconsin, has kissed mega donors Ted Kellner's butt enough to save his and Fickle's job, allegedly. Allegedly. Thanks for putting the allegedly in, Ryan Willie. PATC does not confirm nor deny anything that Ryan Willie says here at PATC. But thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for the $5 holla. I very much appreciate it. Well, if the mega donor has the backing of McIntosh, and McIntosh has the backing of Fickle, well, we are going to be seeing Fickle's. We're going to be seeing Luke Fickle next year for the Wisconsin Badgers. Hold on, everybody. I need to clean something up here. Hold on. One second. Everybody, give me a moment, please. Please give me a moment. Okay. All right. So let's just get into it. The Buckeyes calling the Big Ten shots. I set the table up before we did the roll call on the history of the Big Ten factions. Ohio State has never or hardly ever has been the biggest voice when it comes to making decisions for the Big Ten's future. And now they've got it. The multiple factions do not really exist as of today. It might a couple of years from now, but it doesn't exist today. The Buckeyes are a faction of one, and they're calling the shots. We went through the Buckeyes acquiescing to the additions of Washington and Oregon, but now something else has happened. Something else has transpired. We are going to talk about it, and then we're going to talk about how that reality, as was told to me, has completely changed has completely changed the dynamics within the Big Ten as they look ahead to do whatever they're going to do next. Okay? What has changed dramatically in the Big Ten to cause there to be no more factions except for one is what happened with the UC public capital investment drama. As was told to me, the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we should make it even more specific, as was told to me by a couple of people, one of them being a major, massive money perch within the Big Ten. Specifically, President Carter. President Carter is going to call the shots. President Carter has accumulated all the internal political capital that he needs. Now, there was a long list of things that were told to me. And there is no way I'm going to go through it all. Not on this live show. I don't think I should. I'm going to hold some of it back. But President Carter is an individual who absolutely demands loyalty. He demands it. I do not know. I guess I could look it up. We could look at it. I did not do it. I don't know what position he has held in his past. He was a U.S. Navy. I'm sorry. I don't know what rank he had. It was explained to me, and I've got notes on it. I don't have my notes with me as well. I've got it in the car. But what happened during this UC investment discussion within the Big Ten? Ohio State came out of it as the one true faction. Because Ohio State, many times over, negotiated in good faith with the other schools in the Big Ten, struck a deal with the other Big Ten schools, bargained, compromise. Of course, the Buckeyes were going to be taking the the highest stake and the highest unequal revenue share. But the Buckeyes said to the other schools, we are 100% in backing of the continuation of the Big Ten Conference for the next 100 years. Basically, that's what President Carter said. And the only discussions should be how to best go forward to increase the opportunities of the student athletes in the Big Ten, to make whatever, blah, blah, blah. And the Buckeyes, at the end of the day, tried to rally for the deal, try to get the deal passed, talk to Michigan, talk to USC, kept trying to be the compromiser, and a deal could not get reached. But because of all those interactions, it was told to me that there is no more Wisconsin and Michigan faction. That the Buckeyes are truly committed to extending the Gorg out to 2046. And that has led to where the Buckeyes now have gained a whole lot of political capital within the conference. And they already had a whole bunch. They already had a whole bunch of political capital because they acquiesced to the last expansion. So there is no more horse trading in the Big Ten when it comes to the next couple of major decisions. There is no more horse trading between the factions because there's only one faction. So it really comes down, and this is extremely... Now, no one is saying this. I'm going to say it. This is what this National College Football YouTube channel is all about. This is extremely... I cannot emphasize this enough. This is extremely unusual. And yet, it is reality. So, President Carter. Now, for those outside of the Big Ten, for those watching the show, maybe a lot of people are saying, well, of course, Greg, the Ohio State Buckeyes have the biggest voice in the room. That's not the history that the Buckeyes, that has not been their role. But now they've got it in spades. They've got the votes, basically, to do what they want to do. Because whatever the Buckeyes decide what they want to do, in that decision, there is going to be the extension of the grant of rights. Which most of the schools, and almost all the schools, that's what they're really searching for. Security and then added value to the conference. So what does that do for Big Ten expansion plans? What about Penn State? Well, Penn State they have been part of the Buckeye faction. So Penn State has, there is no sunlight of difference between Penn State and Ohio State on this. So what does that do for Big Ten expansion? It makes it a lot more simple. In fact, it makes it extreme. What if now nothing is done, nothing is settled, things are changing. This is another big change. Because remember when people kept asking, Greg, why hasn't the Big Ten acted? Greg. Well, there's a lot of reasons why the Big Ten hasn't acted. One of them, they were trying to get this investment deal done. The other reason, they're looking for a college football playoff format that's expanded. Another reason is a possible codification of the House versus NCAA. Another reason why the Big Ten hasn't acted, among many, but one of the reasons was the internal faction war that was going on in the Big Ten because the 18-team conference, there was a difference of opinion, as you can imagine. But that variable on why the Big Ten is waiting does not exist anymore, according to the Zoom call that I was on, because there is no other voting faction that has the numbers, that will have the numbers other than the Ohio State faction. They will have 13 voting members on whatever they decide to do, because whatever they decide to do is going to come along with more security for the Big Ten. The Buckeyes have made that known. So it's made a lot more simple. Now we are going to get into here, what does exactly, as was told to me, what does President Carter, what does President Carter want? What does he want? But before I get into that, and I want to get into Moen After Dark's super chat here. Thank you, Moen. I said this was told to me on a Zoom call. I have not had a chance to talk with Moen yet. I am going to talk to Moen here soon. One of the things that was described to me, and I already said a little bit of it early in the show, was President Carter's number one criteria is loyalty. And as it was explained to me, and there's a lot of details behind this, and I'm not going to bore people with the details. I have, again, my notes are in my car, whatever. It was told to me that the Buckeyes are going to play Navy September 1st, September 2nd. I don't remember the date, 2029. And there are big plans. There are huge plans for that event. And there's no way on God's green earth are the Buckeyes going to move that football game. Not against Navy. Okay, let me get to the super chat here. Moen After Dark. Moen After Dark. The Ohio State Buckeyes are magnanimous. Michigan has double-crossed us. In the Big Ten itself, we gave them everything. Placating Wolverines never works. Buckeye leadership will set it right. Now, what is making it difficult? Now, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Thank you for the $10 holla, Moen After Dark. Thank you for the $10 holla. I appreciate it, my friend. I'm gonna play a little devil's advocate here. Number one, Michigan does not have a permanent president. Number two, the University of Michigan, I think there's no question that the university has been hijacked. I should not say there's no question. There are people who has the opinion that the University of Michigan's leadership has been hijacked for the moment by some people who wouldn't even care if Michigan did not have an athletic department. I'll just put it that way. But yes, Moen After Dark in his Buckeye voice. The Buckeyes have gained a lot of political capital during this last couple of weeks. It is the absolute truth of it. So, thank you, Moen After Dark. I appreciate it. So the question is, what does President Carter want? Since he's got the votes. President Carter wants loyalty. President Carter wants an athletic department, a university that is that would be considered a Big Ten university on day one. President Carter, now we've talked about this before, but it was in this Zoom call that I had, it was expressed that President Carter whoever they add on is going to be a very highly credentialed academic university, and it will be AAU university. That may not be the requirement of the Big Ten. It's not the requirement of the Big Ten. But President Carter is most likely is going to have that as a requirement if the Big Ten adds. They are going to be bringing on schools that are going to be looking at the Big Ten as not a 10-year adventure. That is what was said in the Zoom call. They're going to be bringing on schools that are going to be Big Ten universities for the next 100 years. According to these two people that were, and one of them was a major Big Ten money perch. I'm not going to say who the other person was or how they exist. There are 5 universities that President Carter, according to these gentlemen, that the Ohio State Buckeyes, that President Carter will look at and say, let's see if this can happen. North Carolina, Virginia, Miami, Georgia Tech, and Stanford. Those are the 5. So when they went through those 5 schools, and they went through those 5 schools with some details, I said, what about Duke? What about Kansas? What about Utah? What about Florida State? What about Clemson? What about Virginia Tech? What about, I went through the whole bunch of other schools. And they said that President Carter is going to hold tight to who Ohio State considers as a peer as an AAU member, and that would bring value to the students and the student athletes at Ohio State and bring value to the Big Ten. So what about Kansas? What about Utah? What about Florida State? Now, Florida State and Clemson, okay, they're not AAU. But I often reminded these two people that that is not the requirement. But according to what they believe, what they've been told, this is going to be President Carter's requirement. President Carter came from Nebraska. President Carter had that fight at Nebraska, not just within the university, but within the state, to try to get Omaha, to try to get Kearney on board. There is some success with that, but President Carter is not interested in bringing on a school that doesn't have all their boxes checked when it comes to AAU. I asked about Duke. The feedback on Duke was that Duke there's a lot of interest in the Big Ten when it comes to Duke, but it doesn't necessarily align with what Ohio State wants. Same thing with Kansas, same thing with Utah. Other Big Ten factions and universities had interest in those schools, but it doesn't quite align with what Ohio State wants. What the Ohio State University wants is an addition into the Mid-Atlantic, North Carolina, Virginia, or in Atlanta. And then Miami is something that the Ohio State University would be interested in. Those four schools, and then Stanford as a possibility, but not likely. So according to what I've been told, now again, things have changed, right? Nothing is done, nothing is settled, right? We've gone through all these twists and turns, and we all said they would be twists and turns. This UC investment situation has really altered the makeup of the decision making within the Big Ten, at least for the short term. And I'll be honest. This is probably something that I should have recognized or thought of before I got this invitation to step in the Zoom call. I would say during the Zoom call, I was still lost in a fog, but coming out of it, I completely understand what was told to me. If I would take the University of Minnesota example, who has been part of the Michigan-Wisconsin faction, Minnesota pushed for the addition of Washington and Oregon. Minnesota that might have some other ideas along with the possibility with USC and others in Michigan when it comes to the possibility of adding a Utah or a Kansas. Minnesota might be in favor of that. But because the Buckeyes, the university, Ohio State, tried to get this deal done that would have required the grant of rights going to 2046, And this is something that a lot of Big Ten schools really, really wanted, not just because of this deal, but all the deals that happened before. In other words, the addition of USC, the addition of UCLA, the addition of Washington, the addition of Oregon, none of those deals directly impacted the 2036 grant of rights. None of those deals, it gave more value, more money to the conference as a whole, but it did not provide a longer term grant of rights. So a lot of these schools were not just looking at but given a bigger stake to the conference in the Big Ten enterprises, to the Ohio State, to the Penn State, to the Michigan, to the USC, give them a bigger stake and give them a bigger slice of the unequal revenue sharing when it comes to the media money. They were looking at the other 12 schools, 13 schools in the Big Ten, were looking at the grant of rights going to 2046, not just for all of that they were giving up, but because of what they had done in voting the 4 schools additions here in the last conference expansion. In other words, there were schools in the Big Ten that thought they had this coming, that this was a no-doubter, that this should happen regardless. Even without the investment, this should happen. This should happen within the next media rights negotiations. This should happen. In the 2029-2030 media rights negotiation, the grant of rights should extend from 2036 to 46. But yet, it did not happen. And yet, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And yet, a Board of Regents member at Michigan said it publicly, what they said privately, that they're not too sure that they want to extend the grant of rights to 2046. Regardless, well, the Michigan faction imploded. So the Ohio State Buckeyes are going to be called the shots, and they're going to get their 13 votes. Now, does that mean that, if you're not North Carolina, if you're not Virginia, if you're not Georgia Tech, if you're not Miami, if you're not Stanford, that you have no shot at a Big Ten invite during the next expansion? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that you have more. You just have another bigger hurdle to overcome. The pieces might fall to where somehow those 5 schools, those candidacies are not going to be enough for the Big Ten. Maybe they're going to have to look further than those 5 candidate schools. Or something else drastic might change. But this, as was explained to me, and this was a long, long call, this really has simplified things for the Big Ten. If the Big Ten is unable to get North Carolina and Virginia, the Georgia Tech, Miami, Stanford candidacy, it's because of the one faction, Ohio State faction, their candidacy has even become more relevant to the Big Ten plans. I asked the question that has been nagging at me for quite a while, and my question was this. And this had to do with Georgia Tech. I asked it in the Zoom call. I said, okay, I get it. I've often speculated on it. We've had other people talk about it. Okay, the Buckeyes would be interested in the market of Atlanta. A lot of good reasons for it. We don't have to go through those reasons again. We all know the reasons. But I did ask the question. I said, if you go back and you think about the Magnificent Seven, the 7 ACC schools that got together in subgroups, they had their meetings a few years back, in trying to think of if there was any possibility that those 7 schools together could break out of the grant of rights of the ACC, or they could pay out of them. Was there any legal maneuvering that they could do to get out of the ACC grant of rights together? Why wasn't, this was my question, why wasn't Georgia Tech a part of the Magnificent Seven? If Georgia Tech is so valuable to the Big Ten, could be so valuable to the Big Ten, if Georgia Tech is so valuable, if the Atlanta market is so big, and it is, so valuable, and it is, but if it's such a value to the Big Ten Conference, why was it not a part of the Magnificent Seven talks? The other gentleman in our Zoom call, which is not a Big Ten money perch, but is somebody that has a connection with an ACC school, explained it to me in this fashion. Georgia Tech did not need to be part of the talks. Georgia Tech did not need to be part of the Magnificent Seven talks because it would always be understood wherever North Carolina and Virginia went, Georgia Tech would come with them. So even though there's only 7 schools, the Magnificent Seven, Georgia Tech would have been the 8th. Not Louisville, as a lot of people reported. It would have been Georgia Tech. Not Duke. It would have been Georgia Tech. According to this person, somebody connected to an ACC school. So my next question then was, okay. And by the way, that closely resembles what happened when the Big Ten targeted North Carolina and Virginia back in 2010, 2011, when they both said no to the Big Ten, and the Big Ten eventually got Rutgers and Maryland. If you remember, after Virginia and North Carolina shut down any talks about joining the Big Ten, Georgia Tech basically said, we are going to stay with Virginia and North Carolina. So the next question I had, And again, this was an extremely long Zoom call. A lot of it was on President Carter, which I'm not going to talk about here in the open. All of it good, all of it positive, but exactly what he's looking like, how he is. Like, what has he done? What does he value? Where does he want to take the Big Ten? President Carter is really only interested, according to this major money perch individual, President Carter allegedly is really only interested in 4 or 5 universities as an add-on to the Big Ten Conference. My next question was, okay, these are my reasons why I think North Carolina and Virginia are going to go to the SEC. I also said these are my reasons why that I think the Southeastern Conference really only has a shorter window on Virginia because of political reasons. The Board of Visitors. There's probably going to be a new governor, or there is going to be a new governor, probably from a different political party, Democratic Party, and that's going to adjust the Board of Visitors, and that's going to adjust what they would want to do. But I said, what if the Southeastern Conference took North Carolina and Virginia? How does Georgia Tech follow? I don't see the SEC taking Georgia Tech with Virginia and North Carolina. And the person thought that would not happen either. That it most likely, if the SEC is, if they can get done what their top targets are of North Carolina, Virginia, then the Big Ten most likely is going to be a Georgia Tech, Miami edition. I did ask, what if Virginia doesn't get taken by the Southeastern Conference because the Southeastern Conference can't act fast enough and the Board of Visitors get flipped over and there's going to be a new president at Virginia? And what if it just can't happen politically? What if they can't get it done in the state of Virginia? What if? And then the person thought, first of all, the person thought that was a chance of happening, like everybody. I mean, Virginia and the Virginia Southeastern Conference thing is a tinderbox right now. If the Southeastern Conference really wants Virginia, they've got to move right after they name the permanent president, which should be happening in the month of December. That's what we've been told. But they've got to act fast, 5-month window at best. And if they don't get it done, if they can't get it done, then maybe there's a different combo that the Big Ten is willing to do. A Virginia, Miami, Virginia, Georgia Tech, maybe all 3, I don't know. But President Carter, at the end of the day, allegedly, we've been told that really comes down to President Carter. This is very unusual situation in the Big Ten Conference, that a president would have this much power, this much control. It's not even a word. Control is the wrong word. It's influence. It's the Buckeye stood up for a bunch of schools. The Buckeyes stood up for a bunch of schools. That the Buckeyes were a willing partner. They compromised. The other side compromised. They worked out. They threaded the needle until they got up against USC and Michigan. They were successful in threading so many needles, moving all these different numbers around, moving all these things around. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of patience. It took a lot of horse trading, and the Buckeyes at the end of the day had everybody on board. And they're not going to forget that. They had everybody on board to move the grant of rights to 2046, and they're not going to forget about that. So if the Big Ten moves, if they expand, which has always been the plan, that's why Mark Coyle said what he said. It's why Jim Smith said what he said. It's why all these reporters have said what they've said. It's why I have said what I have said. It has always been the plan to expand to 20, at least to 20, for a whole lot of different reasons. But part of the plan was always to extend that grant of rights in the Big Ten. And the Buckeyes were willing to get it done. And now because of that willingness to work with everybody, now they got the institutional power to make the next move in the Big Ten. There ain't going to be no faction built up against the Buckeyes. There ain't going to be the other faction. If there is, it's not going to be more than 5 votes. 13 out of 18. The Buckeyes have control. Buckeyes have the serve. And no one is going to be able to break their serve. So what do the Buckeyes want? What do the Buckeyes want? The next part of it is, what does President Carter want? What does President Carter want? And we just went through it, as was told to us. North Carolina, if you can get it. Virginia, if they can get it. Miami, if they can get it. Georgia Tech, if they can get it. And Stanford is a wild card out there. But the others, according to what we've been told, they've got another hurdle to overcome. And that is the Ohio State faction. I'm going to get to your phone calls. Your phone call doesn't have to be about anything of this. It can be anything in college football that your heart desires. We've talked about the Week 10 football games this week. Give me a call. Let me know. Ricky Tungate, appreciate the super chat, my friend. Mr. Hoosier, we did an Indiana Hoosier watch party last weekend. I did that because we had not done a Hoosier watch party since the only one we've done the last 2 years is the playoff game against Notre Dame. Shame on me, because Indiana has been the story, so we finally had to do it, the one against UCLA, but Indiana put the hammer on them. The game was over at halftime, and then we had to shift to the Northwestern Nebraska football game. Ricky Tungate, thank you for the super chat. Just popped in. I'm at work. We'll watch later. Just helping keep the lights on. And you are, Ricky Tungate. Thank you so much for your generosity. I very much appreciate your generosity. Thank you for helping us out in the days, the last weeks and months and years. Thank you, Mr. Hoosier. I'm very humbled in your super chat. Thank you so very much. Let me make sure I haven't missed anything else. And I have. John Teal, I apologize. Super chat. John Teal. John Teal, super chat. Are Urban Meyers and Penn State sitting in a tree? I don't think Urban Meyer is coming back to football. I don't think Urban Meyer is coming back to football. I don't think he can. I don't think anyone. I honestly, I don't think anyone's willing to take the risk. I don't think he's willing to take the risk. Yeah, I don't think so. Now, I do not have a Penn State Hotboard 2.0 ready. I do not have that ready. I do not have that ready. We'll talk about that when I get something. I've got a few things in the oven on that. Matt Rhule is not going to be the next head coach at Penn State. He signed a 2-year extension with Nebraska. Thank you, Healing, Florida. I appreciate it. Before we get to your phone calls, I want to read you guys something here. And it's not about college football. Not about college football. All right? Well, I'm only going to take about 3 minutes of your time. 3 minutes of your time. And then we're going to go to your phone calls. This is about that rock. Okay? That 3-eye atlas, the third interstellar object that has come in to our solar system. All right, I just want to read something here because a lot of times when I start talking about this, everyone says, Greg, it's a rock. Why are you wasting your time on this? And I say, maybe it is. Maybe it is a rock. Maybe it is a rock. Maybe it is. But if it is a rock, if it is a natural rock, not artificial, not intelligently designed, if it is a rock, like Charlie Atwood says, it's a big rock. It's the most unusual rock that has ever flown by us. Let me just read you this. Astronomers studying Atlas, 3-eye atlas, have detected 7 verified, not the fat guy in Minnesota just dreaming things up, verified anomalies, each raising new questions about what this interstellar traveler really is. All right? Number 1, trajectory. We've talked about it, right? Nearly aligned with the plane of our solar system. A rare precision seen in only 0.2% of simulated cases. In other words, 3-eye atlas is coming in at an angle, and it had a 0.2% chance at coming in at that angle, at the solar system plane. 0.2%. But that's not all. Timing. Its closest pass to the sun happened exactly when the sun blocked our view, delaying discovery. So the closest it got to the sun, October 29th, which was yesterday, it so happened to be exactly when the sun blocked our view, delaying discovery. Number 3, mass and speed. Roughly 1 million times more massive than that other rock, Numa, whatever how you call it, and traveling twice as fast. 1 million times more massive than the first interstellar rock in traveling twice as fast. Number 4, composition. Only 4% water vapor, but unusually high CO, a ratio almost never seen before. Number 5, metals. The gas it releases is rich in nickel, not iron. A surprising chemical signature. Because when you see a release in nickel, you see a release in iron in all these comets. But this one, our human understanding is you can't have a release of, there is no natural release of that. That has to be manufactured. Iron and nickel going together. Number 6, light polarization displays a negative polarization curve unseen in any comet to date. Number 7, a Z-tail behavior. For weeks, its tail pointed toward the sun, the opposite of normal before flipping direction. Okay. And now today there's a number 8. The last pictures just released. And we're not going to be able to see this thing until like November 6th as it comes out from behind the sun. The brightness, the visual brightness of this object went like way more times higher than any prediction that they had. For whatever reason, this thing went extreme brightness. Way past any of their projections. And they don't know how this could be unless the rock was generating its own power. It can't be just a reflection. The brightness it increased too much. Anyways, I just wanted to say it. I wanted to say it. Those are the reasons why I asked the question, is this just a rock? Studzilla, Greg, I've heard BTM confirm the college football championship will be played on 3i Atlas. Can you confirm? Only if 3i Atlas starts orbiting around our own sun. It might just be big enough. All right. Village Idiot, that's no moon. I feel like I'm in a Family Feud episode. Numbskull News, this thing is 1 billion years old from a strange part of the galaxy. Not surprising, it's unlike any other comet. All right? It just so happens that this is the 3rd interstellar comet, and it just so happens that it's incredibly many times bigger than the first 2. It just so happens that it came in at a plane which is basically perfect to our solar system plane that had a 0.02% chance of happening. Just so happens that the 3rd rock that came, all right. Stormy cyclone Pasadena is suing the UCLA for trying to break the lease on the Rose Bowl. Rowan Phillips watched a pretty cool documentary on how we proved the existence of supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way 2 nights ago. We've got a super chat from OPD Down. I do know, yep, Stormy Cyclone. I know that's a true story. Opie, so what you're telling me is 3i Atlas is a brainiac. Thank you for the super chat, OPD Don. I appreciate it. What I'm trying to tell you, OPD Don, it's either one of 2 things. It's either the most unusual rock we have ever seen, by far. Like, by far. Nothing, this does not resemble anything we've ever seen before. In Numbskull News, makes a good point, because it's not from the solar system. It's way out there, in my scientific terms. But is it just a rock? Is it? We're going to find out more information come this, hopefully by November 6th or 7th. What I do find strange, Opie, is we do know that NASA has taken a bunch of pictures that they have not released, right? They have taken a bunch of pictures that they have not released. The counter argument to that, well, Greg, it's the government shutdown. Maybe the guy who takes the picture, whatever, maybe it's not happening because the government shutdown. All right? Okay? But the problem with that argument is that there are a lot of other agencies out there in the world who have taken pictures of this. You've got European agencies. You've got China. China has taken pictures of this. And at the exact same time, NASA quit releasing pictures. China stopped releasing information on this rock as well. Is it hard rock or is it heavy metal? Okay, all righty. Let's get back to college football. Unless you want to call in or super chat, we'll talk about the rock, if that's what you guys want to call it. And by the way, if you are going to, if you're Numbskull News, let me put it this way. If you are Numbskull News, how do I say this? If you are Numbskull News, if you are an alien, if you are a non-human intelligence related to Numbskull News, wait a second. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. If you are, if we are a subspecies of a higher, if we are part of the, if we are a distant cousin of a non-human intelligence, in Numbskull News, great uncle is out there 4 billion years away, and they're going to send something here. A craft, maybe just maybe part of the structure of that craft is a bunch of rock, because the rock would help protect the craft, the hollow craft inside. I'm just throwing that out there. NBM is something returning from the first civilization on Earth. All right, guys. Let's get to your phone calls. If anybody still wants to call. If nobody wants to call, I don't blame you. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. We got off on a little bit of a rock rant, but it's going to be look, guys, before you all yell at me.
Call from
Studzilla, can you hold on for a moment, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to before you guys all yell at me or make fun of me, which you can, or you can turn off this program, which you can. Before you do all that, this is going to be a massive story, even a bigger story than it is now, when we're all waiting for the first the pictures after it comes up beyond the sun. If we see more information on its brightness, if we see more information on its size, if we see more information on its chemical, what is actually gassing out of this rock, if we see that maybe it has changed a little bit of its trajectory, or if it hasn't changed at all, which would tell us that this probably is being manually controlled because these comments have to change a little bit. Whatever happens, it's going to happen like November 6th or 7th. I don't know if I've got those dates right. This is going to be a big story. We're going to go back to it and talk about it because it's going to be a worldwide story. And then maybe you guys will quit laughing at the fat guy from Minnesota. Studzilla, thanks for calling. I do appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so I remember reading some article either end of last season or after the season was over. I'm pretty sure you even talked about it, about how reports were coming out that NBC was unhappy with the options for the slated games that they had last year because Fox and CBS seemingly getting first grabs at all the, Ohio State and Michigan games and Penn State. And there was rumors that maybe these schools didn't want to play night games, which seems odd to me. But I was wondering if you think NBC's feelings on this, if true, will have any impact on the Big Ten expansion, and the next NBC negotiations, if there is one, if they want to stay with them, that is. I just want to, what your thoughts on that are.
Well, that's a great question. That's a great comment. I don't know what NBC's feelings are on this or CBS. Number one, yes, the Southeastern Conference ratings, the gap has widened between them and the Big Ten. No question about it. Number two, if you look at the Big Ten ratings, they still have gone up over last year overall. The gap between them and the SEC have grown, but the numbers when it comes to Friday night games and noon, overall the college football numbers are up. They're way up on Southeastern Conference numbers. They're up on ACC numbers. So if you're looking at what is the NBC and CBS, what are their reactions to these numbers? Well, they're bigger than they have been. So I don't know if they're upset about it. I don't know if it's a story of NBC, CBS not being satisfied, or is it a story that the SEC schools are not getting the value that they deserve from ESPN and ABC because their numbers are incredible, right? I don't know. I really don't. Look, Fox just came out with their numbers. They've made a whole bunch of money. Big Ten Network is doing fantastic. It's making a whole lot more money. Keeps breaking records. But is NBC upset? I don't know. Does that mean when it comes to the Big Ten expansion, do they have to do the blend where they have to bring in one big football brand that makes, do they have to do that? Quite possibly. I do not know. That's usually how it happens anyways. Ohio State, again, is that gonna influence President Carter and what he wants? Probably not. But he might get some pushback when it comes to the media partners, and when he says this is what I want, and maybe the media partners will say, okay, but that valuation doesn't come in at the numbers that you might want it to come in. I don't know, right? Those are different arguments. Could the gap between the SEC and the Big Ten ratings influence this process? It could. Having said that, again, we've explained it before that the Big Ten numbers do not have to match the SEC numbers when it comes to value for the national advertisers. As was explained to me before, the Big Ten markets overall, I'm just saying overall, Studzilla. I'm saying overall, I don't want anybody to jump down my throat on this, but overall, if a national advertiser is trying to sell you high-class automobiles, the high-class automobiles that are being advertised during the college football games are going to be sold more per viewership in those Big Ten markets than it's going to be in Southeastern Conference markets. The national advertisers love the Big Ten markets. But if the number is so great, between the SEC and the Big Ten numbers, the SEC can easily make up that advantage and have an advantage over the Big Ten. There's a lot of things that are involved in that, sir. But go ahead.
Yeah, one more thing that you made me think of. You think that NBC would ever try to push Notre Dame to have like some sort of scheduling agreement with the Big Ten if they didn't join, or play more schools like, hey, we want you to play some variety of Michigan, USC, whoever for those bigger games? Or do you think that's not something that they're really interested in?
Well, NBC might push it. I don't know if the Big Ten is interested. I mean, I don't think the Big Ten is the Big Ten's not pushing USC to play Notre Dame, right?
Mm-hmm.
So NBC might want that. NBC would probably want that. They want the USC Notre Dame series to be an annual series, continue to be an annual series. But I don't know if the Big Ten is all that. I don't think the Big Ten would I don't think the Big Ten would actively seek that out to have a scheduling a structured official scheduling contract with Notre Dame.
All right. Well, thank you.
You got it. I appreciate it. Call again, sir.
All right. Thank you.
You got it. The Big Ten Conference.
Call from
Rick.
Rick, hold on 1 second, please, if you can.
Sure thing.
I appreciate it. Lee, the Big Ten Conference is going to have to force these programs to spend more money on athletics. I have to respectfully, I don't know. I mean, how much more money can they possibly spend? The Big Ten, these schools are so much in debt. They've got so much debt payment. They're spending money they don't have on athletic, on facilities. They're spending money like crazy. And they have the biggest media contract. They're all swimming in debt. How much more? And they sponsor all these sports, which everybody wants to have happen. I don't know how much more money you could possibly. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how that's even possible. That's just my opinion. Rick, the floor is yours.
Yeah, real quick in reply to the last caller's question, I see the Big Ten pushing NBC to get Notre Dame into the Big Ten more than pushing for a scheduling agreement. But I called with a question regarding your friend on Tuesday who told you to clear your desk on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Is he having any trouble communicating with you on X?
He does not communicate with me on X.
Oh, okay. So that doesn't apply.
This was per text or per phone call, and I don't have any update on it. In
fact, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to know whether or not his speaking to you on X, if that were the case, might be causing a problem. Okay, and then the next question is he one of the two people you spoke to on the conference call?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Then that brings up my third point.
Yeah.
And that's, you said yesterday that he said it involves
A financial thing.
financial package for one of the P4 conferences?
Yes.
And my question to you is this. If he was telling you to clear your desk, to me, I don't know how it means to you, but a financial package deal for the Big 12 or the ACC isn't a desk clearing event, but a financial deal for the SEC or the Big 10 is. Do you agree or disagree?
I'm sorry, say that again.
A financial deal for the Big 12 or the ACC, in my opinion, is not a desk clearing event. But a financial deal for the SEC or the Big 10 is a desk clearing event.
I would almost agree, but I don't quite. Because I'm almost with you. I'm not quite with you. I'm almost there.
Okay.
I think there's a slight chance that it could be some financial deal outside of the P2 of the SEC and Big Ten that would be a desk clearing thing, but mostly I agree with you.
Okay, and okay, yeah, well, that's really what I was getting at, and I agree. But using that term and the way he phrased it, it seemed to me to be of the SEC Big Ten level.
Yeah.
Well, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
That there's something that close.
I really don't know what it is. To be honest with you,
it was close. It was close enough that he thought
yes.
it was happening yesterday.
But I don't know what this financial deal is. I don't know. He in some ways, I'm thinking maybe I should have never brought it up on this show, but that's not how I do this show. When I have something and it's not embargoed, I share it with you guys, and it goes out there. And if something can, you can't
unring the bell.
Yeah, and I mostly always ring the bell. If I'm not infringing on anybody, if I'm not hurting anybody, if I'm not hurting my ability to harvest the field again the next growing season, right. I'm going to put it out there. So,
and that's a good thing. That's what makes your show so great.
Yeah.
But when a person of his stature,
yes,
comes out and says, "Hey, it's a desk clearing event and it's going down tomorrow," I say, "Holy cannoli! This is big."
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
And even though it didn't happen, it was pretty darn close to happening.
Yeah, and I think
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Okay, thanks.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate the phone call, sir. We got a super chat. Heartbreak 25. Heartbreak 25, Mr. Nittany Lions. I apologize. I should have gotten to this earlier. I apologize, sir. Thank you so much for your generosity, your $2 holla. Heartbreak 25. Thanks, Nebraska, for extending Matt Rhule. Love, Penn State. Matt Rhule gets a 2-year extension. We talked about that early in the program. I don't have a strong opinion. You know, I can understand a 1-year extension, a 2-year extension. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know yet. I gotta be honest. I thought Nebraska would be better this year than they are. They have a pretty good record, no question about it. I do think they're going to get their doors blown off against USC. And if I'm wrong, then I'll come back on here on the Sunday Aftermath show and say, well, it looks like Greg the Cooler is here because I got the Nebraska all. I saw that Nebraska Northwestern game. Northwestern, if they had a capable quarterback, they would have done to Nebraska what Minnesota did to them. I think there's something wrong with this Nebraska football team. And I think we're going to be a witness to it when they play at home against USC. I think USC is going to blow the doors off them. And then when that happens, I think a lot of people are going to be going, well, third year, Matt Rhule, Nebraska, I guess they're a little bit better. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Cornhuskers beat, USC Trojans every time they go on the road in the Big Ten. They lose. So maybe they go to Lincoln, Nebraska, which is shorter travel than going to Minnesota and Illinois and Maryland, especially. I think this game is going to tell us a lot. Is it unfair for me to put so much on one football game? Maybe it is, but I'm just not sold on Nebraska. Does that mean that Matt Rhule should not have gotten a year extension? I'm not saying that. I don't know. I really don't think they've turned the corner quite yet. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think that's going to be quite evident during that USC game. I think the USC Trojans are going to put up a lot of points. And I don't think Nebraska is going to keep Dylan Raiola standing for the whole game. We're going to find out. We're going to find out together. Okay, our phone lines are open, 763-260-1333, 763-260-1333. Thank you, Heartbreak 25, OB, Ricky Tungate, Moen, John Teal, Ryan Willie, thank you guys for your super chats. Thank you for your donations to help us keep the lights on. I very much appreciate it. Phone lines are open. Thursday, October 30th. Yeah, that would tell me something. It would tell me that I'm wrong. It would tell me that Nebraska has turned the corner. Absolutely, Adam. I don't think it's going to happen.
Christopher Hooter.
Christopher Hooter, the floor is yours.
Well, howdy. It's been a couple days since I had a chance to tune in. And boy, it's been a hectic week for me.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. I have one question for you.
It's got to be an LSU question.
Who has the institutional control within the university, the beautiful University of Louisiana State? Who has institutional control to make the next head coaching hire?
Well, I think technically the governor has control to appoint all board members and even the chair of the Board of Regents.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean he has control, or I guess kind of. There's a long history of LSU and the governor being involved, right?
Yep.
With Huey Long going way back then,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So in the 30s, Huey Long wanted to build a stadium, and the Louisiana legislature wouldn't give him the money. So he said, but we'll give you money for dormitories. And he goes, okay. So most of the time your stadium is dormitories. and if you ever be there, you can still kind of see it. There's been some renovations since, right? They're kind of harder to spot now, but it housed students from the beginning, right? They were kind of just buried under the stadium. So nothing new here.
But he did say the governor did say that he's not going to be the one that makes the coaching hiring. And so the question is it going to be the LSU Board of Governors, or is it going to be the athletic director?
Well, I don't think it's going to. Well, I don't know, right? When you hire Scott Woodward from A&M, you knew he was going big game hunting, right?
Yep.
That's what he did, right?
Yeah.
With Jimbo, I want to get right, and then so I think the big hire with Brian Kelly and the big contract. I don't. Don't hire Scott Woodward if that's not what you want. So I don't really blame Woodward, and I'm not sure it's fair now to say Woodward's not going to hire the next guy unless Woodward's not going to be there. Maybe he's about to be moved out.
Yeah.
But they've won 2 baseball national championships.
Yes, they have
under Woodward, right? And that program is just humming, and that's a big deal. Like Mr. Hockey, Yeah. that's a big deal at LSU.
Yes, it is.
And then their women's basketball, the women's basketball program is humming too. So, of course, the men's basketball program is not. It's muddling along.
Who do you want, Christopher? Who would you like LSU to go target?
I don't want another 10-year, $100 million, $50 million. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And so if that means it's kind of a ho-hum hire, in this age of NIL and transfer portal and paying the players $20 million, I mean, you get somebody like Brian Kelly who cut his teeth in a different era. Brian Kelly's a good coach. But it's a new world, right? Mm-hmm. So, somebody mentioned Urban Meyer earlier, right? But he's from a different area, and I know he's controversial, but just sort of an example, right? But he came up before NIL and before the NIL and the transfer portal have changed the motivation to play, and who do I play for, right?
Yes.
So. Now we can have another conversation. Am I comfortable with all that? And the answer is probably not. I kind of like the purer form, right? But I guess, as they say, it is what it is. If Frank Wilson knows what he's doing. He's been the recruiting coordinator on and off there for years. If anybody knows anything about the NIL deal, he's the interim coach. He was the assistant head coach. I wouldn't be the end of the world. Just hire him, right? For a reasonable amount of money. Without some stupid buyout. So, now the word was on the buyout that I had heard that the Raising Cane's guy was going to front the money.
Oh, interesting.
Now, but that might have just been chatter, but that's what I heard. Now the governor, in his yodeling, seems to have kind of, he's worried about the taxpayer getting hit on this. Maybe he's right. Maybe if you have a big booster paying the $50 million, well, that means he's not paying something else, right?
Yes,
so,
exactly. Yes.
Right? We're just moving money around, right? Yep. Same thing at Penn State, right?
Yes.
Although LSU's contract is worse or more difficult because Kelly gets the money. It doesn't matter what happens, what he does, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Franklin has to try to find a job and blah, 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 right? I don't think Kelly has to do any of that.
Yep. Well, no, I do think he does. I think he does have to some extent.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I think I read that.
Well, I hope you're right. Now, because with Franklin, they were worried about, well, he's going to get some, media gig with Fox or ESPN or whoever, right? And he can make a little bit of money, and Penn State's on the hook for the difference, for however long he does that. And maybe it's the same deal with Brian Kelly.
I think it is.
But it was not the same. It was not the same deal with Jimbo Fisher.
No, it wasn't. Jimbo got all of it. Yep.
Well, the same athletic director.
Yep. Bill G in the chat room says Kelly has duty to mitigate. Yeah. So Ryan Brooks says there is an offset clause. So yeah, I think he has to search for another job, and that's going to mitigate the cost for LSU.
Well, that'll help. That'll help a lot. And he can take, maybe he can take a year off. And, I get that. You're probably tired, right?
Yeah.
But he's 64 or 65. I mean, if he wants to stay in the game, he can't take too much time off.
Yeah, that's true. Like my
the truth is, I don't know who I want.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's an honest, my prediction is Brian Kelly will become the new head coach of the Maryland Terrapins. That's my prediction.
Like this year? Like in the next 3 or 4 months?
I think Mike, now, obviously Mike Loxley has not been fired yet, so that is a big hurdle for my prediction. But something like a Maryland, maybe a Michigan State, but Maryland I think is a better prediction. Somewhere where Maryland.
So your prediction is he's going to be hired sooner rather than later. Right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, good for Brian Kelly. Like I said, I think Brian Kelly's a good coach.
Yeah.
Everybody's hustling in the SEC. You've got some big programs, right?
Yes.
And everybody wants to go 12-0.
And you can't.
And you can't, or at least 8-0, right?
Every
or 9-0,
win, there's a loss. Every win, there's a loss. Yep.
Yep.
and with the Southeastern Conference going to 9 conference games, fans are going to have to get used to your team losing more. It's just the way it is. It's math. It's math.
But it's worse than that. It's worse than that because now you've got the programs that have money now and they can compete like Vanderbilt.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Everybody's hyperventilating. We lost to Vanderbilt.
I know.
Vanderbilt's good.
I know they are.
What are you talking about?
Yes.
Vanderbilt could legitimately win the Southeastern Conference.
Thank God I'm a Golden Gopher fan because I've been conditioned to losing for 5 decades. So I'm going to be just fine. Except I'm having my problems this year as well. And the Gophers are 5-3. My problem is we're getting our butt kicked all over the football field. It's quite evident that physically we don't line up with anybody. That's my problem.
Well, scheduling has helped. Scheduling's helped you get those 5 wins, right?
Well, and teams are giving us football game. I mean, teams are handing over the game to us.
Here's a gift. I don't want to win either.
Yeah, it's like they gave it to us, but we're getting our butts kicked. And before we would lose games in which we physically dominate. Gophers have always been known for outgaining their opponent, always on the ground, pounding them into submission, but we did not have a quarterback who could throw the modern forward pass, and we would lose the football game late in the 4th quarter. Now this year,
the other team probably had a more depth. They had a little more depth in the 4th quarter, and that probably helped, right?
Yep. And now we're just getting our butts kicked. So I don't know, but anyways, anything else, sir?
So I don't know. It's not going to be Lane Kiffin. It's not going to be the Oregon guy. I'm not buying that these coaches are going to. Even if it's not a lateral transfer, even if it is an upgrade, I mean, these guys got it going where they're at. You know how hard it is to go somewhere else and get it going there too?
Yeah.
Kiffin can stay in Ole Miss forever and manage expectations. You know, who needs that? And why would you go to Florida? My God, I mean, LSU's a tough gig. Florida, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's got to be the hardest job in the SEC. Because, you know, so
yeah.
Anyway, that's my rant.
All righty, man. I appreciate the phone call, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, just checking in. Glad you're well. Thank you, okay?
Beautiful, sir. Thank you. We've got a massive super chat from the one, the only, Big Gun Shop. Past, present, and future realignment shows. Thank you, Big Gun Shop. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you always for jumping on in here into the chat room. I appreciate it so very much. Thank you so very much for helping us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Thank you, Big Gun Shop. Wow. Dante's Inferno Purgatory. Greg, you want to trade places with Rutgers? Disclaimer, I'm a Rutgers alumnus. No, probably not. Rutgers are going to have to find a new quarterback next year, blah, blah, blah. But Dante's Inferno Purgatory, Rutgers did, Minnesota won the game, but Rutgers, I mean, again, Rutgers kicked the Gophers' butt physically. And it was massive. It was, whoo, boy. If Rutgers, and I'm not even going to get into it. Rutgers kicked the Minnesota Gophers' butt physically in that football game. Kenneth Maynard, super chat. $5 holla, Kenneth Maynard. What if the Big Ten and the SEC pass on Florida State and Clemson? For these prestigious academic peer institutions can't force the Big Ten and the SEC to take them. Your mark on line 3. Well, I've always had Florida State and Clemson. My prediction, not a report. My prediction, I had the SEC doing the big scoop and taking Florida State and Clemson. So this information about President Carter, Ohio State, really hasn't changed my prediction at all. But you are correct, Mr. Pirate. Nobody can force the Big Ten to take whoever, you know. They're not going to be able to force the Big Ten to take any particular program. Your mark is watching patiently. We'll see what happens. Thank you for the $5 holla, Kenneth Maynard. I very much appreciate it. So very much. We've got another super chat. MBM, the Ohio State Buckeye. Greg, slap shot or miracle? They're completely two different movies. But if I had to choose, and you did the $5 holla, I appreciate the generosity. I'm going to have to answer the question. I'm going to have to go with miracle, because that had such a big Minnesota was the biggest influence on that miracle. Herb Brooks, the players on the team, University of Minnesota, So I'm going to have to go with Miracle, MBM. Appreciate the $5 holla. Appreciate your generosity once again, Mr. Cowboy. I appreciate it. Joe Long, ha ha ha. Funny title, Greg. Funny title. All right. If we had anything resembling a defense, we'd be 6-2 right now. Yeah, Rutgers have a pretty dang good offense. Yep, no question about it. Okay, I think that's it, guys. We've been on the air for 2 hours and 9 minutes. I want to thank all of you for joining us on this Thursday, October 30th. Thank you, MBM. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Big Gun Shop, Heartbreak 25, OPD Dunn, Ricky Tungate, John Teal, Moen After Dark, and Ryan Willie for your incredible generosity, your donations to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. I want to thank the great phone calls received and the great chats in the chat room. Thank you for your patience on when I read about all the anomalies when it comes to that rock 3-eye atlas. I want to thank you for your patience when I talked about that for 3 minutes. Tomorrow, there is a chance. Tomorrow, there is a chance. Thank you for the super chat, has been. Penn State hot board, James Madison, Bob Chesney, a Pennsylvania native. He could be on that hot board, no question about it. We have not put out our hot board 2.0 yet. I got a couple of things in the... I'm probably going to have one tomorrow or Saturday. Thank you, Has Been, for the $2 holla. Thank you for your super chat. Tomorrow, there is a chance. There is a chance. Talking about James Madison. No, not talking about James Madison. That was Tuesday. Tomorrow, Friday, October 31st at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We might do a watch party on the Memphis Tigers Rice Owls game. We might be doing a watch party on that. So we might come on up twice tomorrow. A live show, a live show and a watch party. So keep your head on a swivel. Buckle up, brace for impact. We're probably going to do a live show during the early afternoon and potentially a watch party Friday night. So we are going into week 10. Very important week in this college football season. 12-team playoffs. I predict there's going to be chaos. There is going to be controversy. And I'm going to be here waiting for it, smiling. And I cannot wait for it. So everybody buckle up, brace for impact. So much more drama in this 2025 season. Greg is shutting it down to look through the telescope. That might be the best comment of the night. Thank you, Stormy Cyclone. Until tomorrow, until next time, we see you all here at PATC. Please, you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.